a mission, solving mysteries in the night. Chasing shadows, finding answers, shining bright light. No one's left behind, in the darkness all alone. With a heart like a siren, she brings the lost ones home. Silent cries in the dark no longer have to be, for justice wheels keep turning, Granny on the beat. Broken voices find their power, call out hope again. When pennies crime busters ride, no victims left in pain. Bravery in her veins, truth she won't disguise. With a fire in her eyes, she's got nothing to deny. Granny fights for justice, never backs down from the call. For the voiceless and the missing, she'll stand tall. In a world full of shadows, she fights the unseen, a guardian of the truth in this wicked dream. Every story told brings her back to life. Granny's on the case, cutting through the lies. She guards the broken hearted from the world that hides. With unwavering spirit, she wears no disguise. Searching for the lost pieces of a shattered life. Granny brings the dawn after a longest night. Whoa.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? I'm waiting for a verdict. Hello, Cheryl. Good to see you. K9. Glad you're here. And Ginger Girl. Good to see you guys. Awesome. Brenda Joe. Hello. I was just going to say, I wonder where she is. I was just texting with her. So, yes, today, it went fast. The state rested. The defense did not put on any kind of trial. There was no defense. They didn't, nothing. But boy, Mr. Scott's closing argument had me hot under the collar. I don't know about you guys if you saw it, but yeah, he had me angry. But so I thought we'd kind of take a look at parts of the closing arguments today. I thought the state, Lacey, behave yourself. Oh my gosh, she's going crazy. I thought the state started out really kind of weak, but then she got into it and she did better. But she seemed discombobulated or something. Oh, hang on, guys. Looks like we're hearing from them, so. Everybody see that okay?
You may be seated. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go through these admonitions again. You're not to communicate with other jurors or anyone else regarding any subject connected with this trial. You're not to form or express any opinion about the case until it's finally submitted to you. You're to report promptly to the court any incident involving an attempt by any person to improperly influence any member of the jury or a juror's violation of the court's admonitions. You're not to read, watch, or listen to any news reports concerning the case. You're to decide this case solely on the evidence introduced in the trial. Now, when you get back to the hotel, you're not to deliberate. You only deliberate in that room. That's 11.
That's scary.
I don't think we have Ms. Rucroft.
It's like they lost a juror.
They all left you. Okay. We'll go through this one more time now that we're all back together. You're not to communicate with other jurors or anyone else regarding any subject connected with the trial. You're not to form or express an opinion about the case until you finally decide it. You're to report promptly to the court any incident involving an attempt by any person to improperly influence any jury member or a juror's violation of the court's admonitions. You're not to read, watch, or listen to any news reports concerning the case. You're to decide this case solely on the evidence introduced in the trial. All right. Yeah, you can go with the officer. Have a good evening.
Oh no, it just kind of froze there. Okay. I guess we're done with that then. So I guess the jury couldn't come to a decision before supper time, so they're just dismissing them for the day. K9, you're funny. Yeah, I had all of a sudden I was talking to you guys and I could hear noise. I had left the court TV one on because I wanted to use our A's for looking at the closing arguments. And all of a sudden they were coming back. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like, where am I hearing these noises in my headset? But yeah. I thought the state overall did a good job with their closing arguments, both that were up there. I actually liked the guy better than the girl, I think. But Mr. Scott, I do not like him at all. I don't think he did a good job. I mean, they didn't even put on any kind of defense, you know. Not that I mean everything that he put out there, he was asking the jurors to speculate. And so it was bad. Yeah, so I see K9 sing, but I think that was from earlier. Yeah, YouTube didn't put it over like it was supposed to. I don't know what went on there. YouTube is doing updates. I don't know if it's YouTube or if it was StreamYard, but either way, YouTube is doing updates. So if you guys see your YouTube acting funny, that's why. It's been doing weird things like not counting people's likes or dislikes. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a no, you know, and I understand that everybody deserves a defense, right? But what he did, the way he acted today, guys, I in my opinion, all he did was make the jury angry. So why don't we watch that first? You guys can tell me what you think of him. I'm gonna scroll back to where he was talking because we don't have time for the whole thing. But I think maybe his and so maybe his and the other guy will be able to do. All right, are you able to see it? Okay.
Good afternoon. I appreciate your all's time. Appreciate you being here. Although I know you may not be here by your own free will, but I still appreciate it. This is a hard case. There's a lot of emotion in this case. And Amber Massengill is very good at giving an emotional closing and wanting you to play on your emotions.
It's personal between these two.
Jury instructions will tell you that this case is not
You're
about
naughty canine.
It's not about sympathy. It's not about anything else. It's about proof and what's in the evidence. That's what this case is about. This case is more about what Megan Boswell didn't do than what she did do. Now, I'll go back through the witnesses here with you in a minute. But the state seems to be putting forth the theory that you should convict her of first-degree murder because she didn't grieve appropriately. She had fun after her child died. Now, is it far-fetched to believe that the child died in the first part of December, like she says? No, that seems to be the point where you see Megan's personality start to change. But I would suggest to you that change occurs when the child dies. You start to hear various friends come in and they talk. I can name them for you. Let's talk about Casey Saltz. She worked at Megan's pediatrician. And she was also technically would have been Megan's foster sister, I guess. She was the daughter of Megan's foster mother. And she talked about Megan being a good
No,
mother.
Victoria.
She acknowledged that. She witnessed that. Megan brought her to the doctor. You have an exhibit in the records. It's item 67. It came in through the pediatrician. Read that page for page. It demonstrates that Megan was a good mother to Evelyn. She took her to the doctor for well checks. She took her to the doctor when she was sick. She got medicine for her. She did what she should do. And then she misses that appointment in December. And that's when this starts. And I would submit to you, when all of this really starts, the child is dead. Now, we hear from other witnesses. We hear from Paul Miller. That is Ethan Perry's grandfather. He had no reason to believe that she wasn't a good mother. Seemed like she liked being a mom. Saw no signs of abuse or neglect. We heard from Audrey Gibbs. She'd been with Megan almost every day up until she moved to Knoxville in 2019. She describes Megan as a good mom. There were a few things. There was once where she thought her diaper needed to be changed, and once where they neglected to buckle the car seat. But those are mistakes. That's not child.
Oh,
That's
just
not child
mistakes.
abuse. Those are mistakes. Audrey talks about Megan coming to Knoxville at the end of December sometime, and by that point, she's actually disassociated. She's not normal. She's saying, I love you over and over again to her. So, again, maybe she's not grieving right. Bailey Hawkins stayed at the Econo Lodge with Megan. Megan just went to sleep, despite Bailey thought they might do things, they might talk or whatever they might do. But she just went to sleep. Again, I would suggest to you she's disassociated.
She was disassociating. Poor Megan. Oh, poor Megan.
Bailey saw no signs of abuse, no signs of neglect. Mr. Horn questioned her. She described Evelyn as the one consistent love that Megan had. And Megan is a girl who comes from a world of fractured relationships. And Miss Massengill wants to downplay Megan's home life. Matt Price did. There's a video in there. He talks about it. He talks about, I mean no disrespect, but I know that Boswell family. I'm aware of them. I know how you come up. Your mom and daddy using drugs. I mean, you want to talk about a home life.
Doesn't condone murder.
Whoops.
Red rum.
Her mom was laid in there in stripes, a jail uniform. What kind of home life was that? And then we get to Caitlin Jones Carter, whom you can make what you want of her testimony. Her body language tells me she's no longer Megan's friend. However, she described, aside from the one day when she saw Evelyn as dirty, that Megan had been a good mother. No signs of abuse, no signs of neglect. She said she saw Evelyn sometime in December. She tried to tie it to her school, but she really couldn't give us a specific date. So I think the best you can say is that it's sometime in December.
Well, keep in mind, guys, it's 5 years later. I'd be hard pressed to give a date even a year ago. 5 years ago. I mean, that's difficult. People get on with their lives and, you don't remember dates unless it's something memorable, right? Thinking of that, I'm wondering if Megan knows the day. She's never said it, but does she know the day that her daughter was unalived?
Gail Kite. Let's talk about her. Megan's foster mom. She gets Megan when Megan comes into her foster care. Megan's 7 months pregnant. She's 17
I'm right
years
there
old.
with you, Jackie. Oh, hello, by the way.
Describes her as looking like she's not pregnant, as being underweight. We know from the medical records and the testimony that come in from Dr. Smith, Megan suffered from intrauterine growth restriction at that time. We've heard that. So that's the shape she's in. But Gail talks about how she gets her in good shape. She has the baby. She's a loving mother. She takes care of the baby.
Loving right up until the time she put her in the trash can.
It's all neglect. Never had any doubts about Megan. Erica Stacy, and that's the mother of Megan's ex-boyfriend, and I think his name was, can't remember his name obviously. That's the mother of his ex-boyfriend. She described Megan as a good mother. Evelyn was always clean. And I'll point something out to you. The state wants you to believe that Megan just meets Hunter Wood and throws this child away for him. She didn't do that for, I think it's Caleb Stacy. She didn't do that for Caleb. There were other boyfriends. Now there's talk about, a lot of talk about Ethan Perry thinking he was the father. Well,
Here we go.
The proof you've actually seen is they go about as Ethan is the father. And there's been no proof that Megan knew that he wasn't the father at that point. I'm not trying to, I mean, it just happens that some.
I'm not trying to, and he stopped, right? He doesn't tell us who Megan's father is. That irritates me because I want to know. I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I wanted to know who her father really was, and he doesn't tell us, right? He said there's no proof that Megan didn't know that Ethan wasn't the father. Well, yeah, she knew.
Sometimes people may think one person's the father and they're not. But calling him out of anything or anything else. Like, it's not like this didn't start early on that she thought Ethan was the father.
Here's the other side of that scenario, guys. I was just thinking about it. So, if she didn't know that Ethan wasn't the father, how many guys did she sleep with? I'm sorry. This guy, his logic is not common sense. And it gets you thinking of the other side of things, and you're like, what? Are you nuts? You know, just listen to him. He makes no sense to me.
She obviously thought a lot of Ethan. She drove to Texas, took Evelyn to see him. Now, he did say one thing that kind of struck me a little odd. He acted as though she just showed up in Texas. I suspect, and he finally admitted on cross-examination, that he told her where he was in Texas. You just don't hop in the car and drive to Texas and say, I'll drive around El Paso so I see his car in the parking lot, pull in. That's not what happened. I think he kind of wanted you to think that, but that's not what happened. Let's talk about Randy Wood. Randy Wood is the father of Hunter Wood. The state called him. The state is the one who elicited the information about Hunter Wood being hospitalized. That's the first you hear of him being hospitalized. It's the state. Now, Ms. Massengill wants you to think I have some grand conspiracy theory. I don't. I do have a statement from Megan Boswell when she talks to Agent Fraley about what happened in this case.
These two really hate
Hunter
each
was there
other.
when
The
Evelyn died.
prosecution.
I wrapped her up and I swallowed her.
Scott.
I held her. She kept getting colder as the day went on. I didn't want her to get cold. Hunter took her and he got rid of her. Now, they want you to believe that that's just impossible. Why did Hunter not give his DNA? Ask yourself that. If you have nothing to hide, why wouldn't you just let them test your DNA against all the evidence they had? Turns out they couldn't have tested it, probably. But he didn't give them that chance because he had something to hide. Now, his dad said that he was schizophrenic. I asked him, is he schizophrenic and have hallucinations? He agreed with me on that. He also agreed with me when I asked him if he talked about using an aluminum foil or tin foil. And he says, yeah, he talks about some off-the-wall stuff. Now, ask yourself, who's more likely to wrap that child in tinfoil? The child's mother that has cared for the child, taken care of the child, or the boyfriend who's schizophrenic? And I'm not trying to vilify Hunter Wood. That's not been my intention throughout this trial.
Just use him as a
Megan's
scapegoat.
statement is that one of them rolled over on the bed. The young mother may think that. There could have been other causes. When we get to the causes, I guess we can go ahead and we can talk about Dr. Smith and Dr. Malushnik. Now, Dr. Smith asked her about several different things. She's the lady who actually performed the autopsy. And she formed an opinion of homicide death based on the way the child was in the trash can. But she could not tell you a medical basis for the child's death, other than a diagnosis of exclusion. And the diagnosis of exclusion is simply, we don't know what else is wrong with her, so she must have smothered in this trash can. That's what she said, essentially. Now, I cross-examined her about a lot of things. I asked her about SIDS. And even though the subsequent doctor didn't agree with it, Dr. Malushnik, I didn't ask about something that didn't exist. Dr. Schmidt knew exactly what SIDS was. We talked about it. We talked about the ages, how we don't know what causes it. She answered questions about it. She said, ultimately, she could not rule that out in this case. Just like she could not say with any degree of certainty that the child was placed in the trash can alive or dead. She couldn't say that. She brought up that the child had a heart valve that leaked. She admitted under cross-examination that could have been what killed the child. We talked about laryngeal, we talked about laryngeal convulsions.
Hello, Terry. Hello, Melissa. Good to see you both.
Now, Ms. McGill brought up tongue tie. I brought up GERD. I brought up an infection she had, because all of those things can lead to the onset of SIDS. That's the research, and Dr. Schmidt agreed with that. Now, I want to tell you something about Dr. Schmidt and Dr. Malushnik. I think Dr. Schmidt she was the medical examiner in Johnson City when this happened. Dr. Malushnik is not her boss. She's not, it's not like she's somehow over her.
Yes, he is.
Dr. Schmidt was the chief medical examiner at the Jenkins Autopsy Center, Forensic Center. Subsequently, for whatever reason, the state sent her report to Dr. Malushnik for another opinion. Dr. Malushnik only reviewed her report, and she finds that it's a good report. But then she wants to go further and find some type of certainty that child was placed in the trash can. And you saw an exchange between me and her in here yesterday. It went on for 4 or 5 questions. And I kept asking her, Doctor, can you say any type of certainty? What can you say about this? Can you conclusively say that child was dead when it was wrapped in the blanket, wrapped in tinfoil, and put in the trash can? She evaded that question. She wouldn't answer that question. She finally answered that question only after it was threatened she would be in contempt if she didn't directly answer the question. And her answer was, no, I can't say conclusively. And then she threw out kind of a parting shot at me as she left. And
Careful.
to suggest to you more accuracy of that parting shot, she said the child could have been murdered some other way. Should have been. The child could have died some other unknown way. That's what the truth would have been. She presupposed that this child was alive when it went in the trash can. The doctor who did the autopsy was very clear she could not conclude that.
The doctor who did the autopsy, he is twisting her words, number one, because he forced her to say yes or no. She had the same conclusion as the second ME. He just didn't like the second ME because she would not bow down to him and say yes or no. She just said what she thought. And yeah, as far as that, I don't know what that is. I mean, I know it's a rocket, but I don't know if it's a Challenger or what it is. But yeah, this guy, just wait, guys. He's going to make you angry.
She said it couldn't be excluded, but it cannot be included. Dr. Malushnik come in with a preconceived notion of that's what happened. Now, the state has to prove to you cause of death in this case. They have to prove that child was unlawfully killed. They have to prove this wasn't an accident. The proof from Dr. Schmidt leaves open a heart, it leaves open SIDS, laryngeal convulsion, it leaves open all of those things. We don't know what happened. It also left open a rollover, which is what Megan told Agent Frater. And now, would Megan know for sure that that's what happened? Maybe not. You wake up and you find your baby dead in bed. Could you not come to the reasonable conclusion one of us must have rolled over on it? She's 17 years old. She's not sophisticated. She's had a hard life. She's scared that she's going to get in trouble. Hunter Wood's scared that he's going to get in trouble. And that's why.
Put out a poll, guys.
That's why she does what she does. Hunter takes the baby to dispose of it. She knows about it. Is that right on her part? No, it's not. Should she have called and reported it? She absolutely should have. I told you that in my opening statement. Have they proved that she's a liar over and over? They have. Don't deny that. They haven't proved she's a murderer.
A tough life, and I'll give her that, does not condone red rum. I'm sorry, it just does not. We make our own choices. I don't care that she was only 18. She should have known right from wrong. It's my opinion. You know, I don't care that her parents did drugs. She went into a foster home. They had time to train her up. She was pregnant already.
You have more counts of false report than I can really count. I think there's 11 or 12 of them.
Yeah, that's two more than you have fingers.
Almost every time she's talking to law enforcement, you're considering a count of false report. With the exception of, you're not considering one for the time she talked to Agent Fraley. That's not before you. I would submit to you what happened was the conversation with Agent Fraley on the 25th of February, almost 5 years ago. That was a breaking point. That's a breaking point where she finally admits Evelyn is dead. She's able to admit to herself. You saw all these pictures she's sending back and forth before that. That's how she's grieving. Maybe she doesn't want to accept this.
Yes,
child
they did,
is
Cheryl.
dead. Maybe as long as she keeps
Absolutely.
talking about it, talking to the media, talking to the police, and saying that Evelyn is somewhere else, she believes that. Maybe that's how she's getting by. You can't judge someone.
Oh, boo-hoo. Maybe that's how she's getting by. Oh, I'll just let him keep talking.
For how they grieve. You don't know what goes through their head. You don't know what they were raised with. I've never lost a child. I hope none of you ever have. But how am I to tell someone when they lose their child how they grieve? How am I to do that? Amber can tell you that. Oh, she shouldn't have went here. She shouldn't have did that. How does she know that? She's not in Megan's shoes. She's not out there living in that single wide trailer. That's not her life. She's not been raised by drug addict parents, a dad that beats on her mom constantly, and seen that growing up. She's not seen that. She can't put herself in her shoes. It's not fair to say she murdered her child because she didn't grieve right. I resent it. You should too. You should look to the evidence in this case. Do they prove a cause of death? That's the stopping point on the homicide counts. They can't do it. They brought two medical examiners in here who contradicted each other. The first one at least had read her medical records. The second one talked.
Okay, the two medical examiners did not contradict each other. Well, I think the only difference was about the SIDS. But other than that, their actual diagnosis of how Evelyn passed away was exactly the same. So they didn't contradict each other. Secondly, his yelling, he lost the jury right there. I'm sure of it. I am sure of it. Because how many of you guys are angry back at him? I am. I am so angry at him. Terry. That's hilarious. No, I don't think they sound that mean. He's mean. He's mean. Yes, he has anger issues, and I think he really hates the prosecutor, the woman. Never remember her name. He does not like her. You see him point down to her a few times. He does not like her. Those two, it's crazy. Yeah. Well, R.A., the guy sitting down on the left-hand side that you can't see right there, he has a person who was in the jury, was in court today, and he asked her after they went, to deliberate. He said, when Mr. Scott got so angry, how did the jurors react? And she said they all just stared right straight back at him. Their face didn't change, but they just stared at him. And I could see myself doing the same, but my eyes would be saying something different. So, she probably couldn't see their eyes, but he's looking directly at them all. He had to have realized, I think that he got angry because he knows he lost his case. He knows he did. And what kind of defense is it when you don't put on a defense? I mean, he's up there acting like he's going to fight, He never came out and said, "Find my client not guilty." Because I don't believe that he thinks she's not guilty. He admits that she lied, but it's because of her hard life, right? I know. And that one person in RA's chat said the same thing. Why is he yelling at me? And yeah, that's exactly, it's like, I don't know, when somebody starts talking like that, whether it's pointed at me or whether, it makes me angry. It's like, oh, no. You don't talk like that to me. Yeah, he took the case, so buckle up, Buttercup, right? He did. And he was her second lawyer. Yeah, I thought, just stupid. He lost. If he didn't lose the case before this, he lost it right there, in my opinion. And I bet if we ever hear from the jurors in this case, we're going to hear part of that. It's my opinion.
Talks about how she is perfectly a healthy child. She ignored everything in her medical records. She didn't talk about them. It was obvious to me. Should have been obvious to you. She hadn't read them. She didn't care. It was her job to come here and convict Megan Boswell of murder. If you don't believe that, why would she leave here and say, well, she must have been murdered some other way?
Okay, so here's the thing. Why did he bring that up? Because the judge told them to disregard it yesterday. The mic drop moment. The judge told them they had to disregard that. So he's brought it up twice now in his closing arguments. And the prosecution never brought that up. But he brought it up twice.
She was a biased witness, and she wasn't a credible witness.
So we should believe Megan? Is that what you're saying?
Now, let's talk about the tinfoil.
Yeah, Jackie,
How
exactly.
can her one fingerprint be on a piece of tinfoil?
Oh, and this is so lame. This
Y'all see
is
this
something
roll?
else.
How do y'all see it? Okay, my fingerprint's on this roll. I've taken this one. The next person who gets this is going to get a piece of tinfoil with my fingerprint. That's a possible way.
I think so
What's
too.
another possible way?
It was a mic drop
We
moment.
heard that the tinfoil had food and debris on it. So there was food and debris in the trash can. But maybe the tinfoil was already thrown away in the trash can.
Whatever.
If it came off of a roll like that, whoever got it would have had to have reached in there and gotten several pieces. There were several pieces of tinfoil. I believe 4. There should have been fingerprints all over it.
Yeah, and one of those pieces of tinfoil, at least one, but several, were long. So yeah. I mean, yeah, of course. All these big long pieces of tinfoil were in there.
One fingerprint. One fingerprint. It doesn't prove she put that tinfoil in there. Now, what about DNA on the garbage can? I would just about guarantee you, each and every one of you, your DNA is on your garbage can in your kitchen. Your DNA is all over the house. Your finger, I said DNA, actually fingerprint. Your fingerprints are all over your house. It's the kind of thing we don't think about, but you touch something, you put your prints. I think that's what you should consider. I mean, probably Evelyn's handprint on the trash can. At some point, I think in opening, I mentioned to you an unidentified palm print on the trash can. Well, I didn't know at the time it was a child's because it wasn't in the fingerprint analysis report. It's not unbelievable that it's a child's. Now, Ms. Maxengill made a statement. I was a little perplexed with it. The state wants you, or the defense wants you to believe that wearing gloves prevents putting fingerprints on something. You heard the fingerprint experts say that it can't. I think we all know that from our common sense stuff. If you cover the fingerprint up, you're not going to leave it on something. Now, let's go back to the statement of Agent Fraley. February 25th. She's talked to law enforcement over and over. And she talks about how she breaks down. She breaks. It's the breaking point. She admits she's dead. And she's telling them the truth. How do you know she's telling them the truth? Because if she's still trying to lie to them, if she's still trying to confuse them, she wouldn't have said, I don't know where the baby is. It could be at Hunter's, it could be at Tommy's. Why would you say, if you're trying to lie to them, perpetuate this lie like Ms. Maxengill will tell you, that the baby could be at Tommy's? Why would you say, if you're trying to lie to them, perpetuate this lie like Ms. Maxengill tells you, that the baby could be at Tommy's? Why would you do that? Ask yourself that question.
2.5 months, Sylvester. 2.5 months. Plus, it's hard for trying. This man had no chance because there was no defending her. Yeah. Try better next time. Yeah. Well, I think he did a few things wrong. He should have tried to find some kind of defense for her. But maybe because Hunter was I think that's where he was going big time. So maybe because of that, he felt he didn't have a defense. I don't know. That and his getting angry didn't do him any favors with the jury. I'm sure of that. I know. I mean, he's totally forgetting the fact that tinfoil was wrapped around her head tightly. That police blanket was wrapped around her head or her whole body. And then she, I mean, come on. How do you condone this? You don't. Yes. I think she wiped everything. I think she had those blue gloves on, honestly. Yeah, no one listens to someone yelling. It's true. You don't, right? Because what does it do? It gets you angry. They're not going to listen to you. I mean, he doesn't know what those jurors have been through. Maybe one or two of them were triggered because of his anger. That was very, very stupid, in my opinion. I think that kind of, being forceful and being angry and yelling are two entirely different things, right? You can be forceful and not be angry or shouting. He was shouting, guys. He was shouting. He was angry. Yeah, but being forceful is one way to do it. And he had the nerve to suggest that maybe the tinfoil was already in the can. Yeah. 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 Well, he even tried to say because the ME said that there were leaves in her hair. And he tried to say that maybe there were leaves already in the can with the tinfoil, blah, blah, kind of thing. The thing is, because she's never going to be honest. We're never really going to know what happened. Do I think that baby was put in alive? I do. I trust the medical examiners, and both of them thought so. That's sad. That's really sad.
She's telling them where the baby is. She thinks, I think it could have been left one of these two places. Says, I want to find it.
She's telling them where the baby is. Well, hello. Were you not paying attention, Mr. Scott? Because the baby was in the trash can in the playhouse. It wasn't where she told the police it was. How can he argue this, guys? She's telling him where the baby is. No, she's lying again. Because the baby wasn't at one of those two places. It was in an entirely different place.
You'll have that video. You can watch it as many times as you want to. I hope you will watch it. You hear Agent Fraser talk about how he'll go to the DA. She's a scared young mother. He understands that. Now, I don't have to prove this case. I wish I could, but I can't. You can't prove a negative. What I can tell you is the state has not proven their case. They've not proven the cause of death. They've not proven that the death was an unlawful killing as opposed to an accident, or some rolling over in the bed being an accident, or some kind of health-related issue. They haven't proved that. Let's talk about the gloves. I go around in circles sometimes, and I hope y'all are following me. I apologize for that. But let's talk about those gloves. Ms. Massengill talks about the criminal tore the gloves up in the trash can. I think if you'll remember back and look to your notes, TBI cut those gloves up for testing. I could be wrong, but I think that's the case. Now, what do those gloves tell us? Do they match up to anyone? No. But they do match up to an unknown male. There's not enough profile there to match it to someone specifically identify them, but it matches it up to an unknown male. That's why there's not multiple fingerprints on the tinfoil on the child. Those gloves that match some unknown male. We know it's male DNA. We know that. Finally, let me talk just a little bit about Hunter. There's a text thread, and it's in February. It's between Megan and Hunter. And it appears like Megan's telling Hunter the same story she's telling everyone else. But remember, Megan's told Agent Fraley that Hunter doesn't want his name brought into this. He doesn't want to be involved. He told her not to tell anybody anything about the child.
Listen to this, guys.
At this point, Hunter, he throws out a name in that text. He talks about Agent Wilhoit. He's been involved with the police. He knows the police are looking at this. This is February the 22nd. Suggest to you that text thread is, look at the texts, they're self-serving. I'm just worried about the baby. I just want the baby returned safe. That's Hunter and Megan's way of covering Hunter's involvement in this. I'm not saying Hunter killed that child, but I'm saying he did dispose of the child.
So they purposely did that little text exchange so that Hunter couldn't get caught. That's what he's trying to say, guys. I mean, it blows my mind. The things he's trying to pull out of thin air, to get the jury to believe. Yeah. I was like listening to this and I'm like, okay, you got us all angry. Now you're trying to say that they did that. I'm sorry. Megan isn't smart enough to think of that. And obviously Hunter wasn't either if he's got schizophrenia and he's in a mental institution. I feel bad for the guy, but obviously he wasn't thinking along those lines either. Neither one of them were. I mean, yeah, big stretch. Big stretch. It blows my mind what he's trying to come up with here. Is he not a very good defense attorney that he couldn't think of something better? I don't know. Well, how about this? He's from Tennessee.
That text thread, it's a convenient way if you think about it. If you're trying to have proof that you didn't do something, if you start a conversation, start texting it, Say, oh no, I didn't do that. Look at my text. I texted her. She's told me this. It's a convenient thing for him. But he didn't give his DNA. We know that. His dad talks about he went crazy because he was called a baby killer. Maybe he went crazy because of his participation in the disposal.
I'm right there with you,
We
Sylvester.
don't know. Everybody seems to agree he has went crazy. You saw a document admitted this morning. That's where he's being held out of court over in Virginia to be evaluated to see where he's competent for some crime he's committed. He's up at Marion right now to be evaluated.
It's like he's got a mouthful of something.
I hope I've answered your questions.
Yeah, he did.
My argument has helped you somehow with this case. But what I would say to you, if you have questions about any elements of these crimes, and your questions are not answered to your satisfaction, you have reasonable doubt. If you say, I don't know how that child died, that's reasonable doubt on the homicide.
Canine.
I don't think I have much more to say to you. I go to a Baptist church and I hate long sermons. I'm used to it. I think I've been up here for about a half an hour, but I thank you. I pray you'll come to the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
He doesn't say about that.
And Terry, I agree with you. He was wrong. But he said everybody seems to think he's crazy. I think he was mad. He was going to, I think his whole defense was based on Hunter. Fire and brimstone. Yeah. So, yeah, it was uncalled for. There was a lot in his closing argument that was uncalled for, if you really think about it. He is getting angry, trying to say that those texts were made up so that Hunter wouldn't get caught for anything. I mean, you know, what's that got to do with the price of eggs, right? I mean, he knew it. He knew it. He knew his defense was shot and he couldn't come up with anything else. There was nothing else, right? So then he tried to rely on the fact that it's not a fact. He tried to make the jury believe that the state didn't prove their case, that they couldn't prove how she died. Well, yeah. All you had to do was look at the trash can to see how she died. You didn't even have to look at what was inside of it. You just had to hear what was in it and how she was wrapped and how she was placed to know how she died. We don't even have to visually see it, do we, guys? Because we can see it in our heads. This is the most horrific case I've heard probably since the Casey Anthony one, as far as how that baby was disposed of. And, you know, there were people who were willing to take her. And if she didn't want those particular people to have her, all she had to go to was an adoption agency and sign her baby over. They would have taken her. She might have even been able to get paid for it. I mean, I don't know how they do that anymore, but yeah, he was, you have to wonder, what did Megan tell him? Yeah. Yeah, she was she was. So much so that they said they could see the indentation of the can on her face. Yeah, exactly, K9. She didn't flinch. They put some of those up again. The female prosecutor put some of those up again, right in front of her. Nothing. I will say, though, at the end of the day, she looked scared to me. And I thought, you should have been scared long before now. I mean, did she really think her lies were gonna were gonna get her out of trouble? Sylvester. Well, hopefully she'll go to jail for life in a women's prison, and she won't be able to have any more children. Thank God she wasn't pregnant with Hunter's baby. That would have been horrible. That's what she wanted. Yeah, she had no remorse. And that makes it a billion times worse. Because this is a young woman who has done away with her child in a horrific manner, blamed everybody else under the sun, never has told the truth to anyone, I don't think. And I mean, even when Mr. Scott was saying she told him right where the baby was, no, she did not. The baby was in her trash can, wrapped in tinfoil around the face with her fingerprint, wrapped in a fleece blanket, put in a trash bag and then another trash bag and pushed it down with her fingerprint on it. No, the baby was not where she said it was. I don't know who you're talking about, K9. I don't know if I'm just not thinking straight tonight, or you can bet the jury was watching her like a hawk. I'm sure, you know, I am totally sure that they were watching her reactions. Even the female prosecutor said, "Oh, you know, she cried for us in court." But did she cry when I put up, and that's when she she put up the picture of the trash can? And yeah, she goes, "Did she cry when?" No, no tears. You know. Oh, Charlie Adelson, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, he looked shocked. He did. Yeah. Now I gotcha. Yeah. I wasn't thinking of that case for some reason. I was thinking of babies, children. But yeah, I mean, this, I realize he must be a public defender, right? So, you know, we might see him in another Tennessee case somewhere down the line, guys. You never know. I hope not. I think I've seen enough of Mr. Scott. I don't want to see him anymore. You cannot blame her parents either because they didn't do this to their babies. Her dad gave her everything she wanted. Yeah. 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 Her parents, you know, they may not have been perfect, you know, and maybe far from perfect, but they didn't red rum their children. You know, they did not red rum their children. But yeah, and then I found just a sweet little picture of her today. Ginger sent this to me. Isn't that, guys, that break your heart? Just breaks my heart. Little baby. That had to have been right about around that time right? Just before she was gone, I'm thinking. Yeah, he didn't do her any favors, but I will say though, I think that he didn't have much to go with, right? I mean, I can't even think of anything that he could have come up with Charlie being out of the picture. I mean, they checked in with I don't know, somebody at the mental institution this morning, and he was still not capable of talking or anything, being interviewed or anything like that. So, I mean, that's how hard they were fighting to try and get his testimony. But think of the lives that she messed up, guys. Right? I mean, she blamed her mother. Her dad loved that baby, so she's hurt that family. The other people that, loved the baby, her ex-boyfriend's mom, she loved her. The babysitter, her foster mom, not to mention Ethan, who thought, I mean, he was willing to step up to the plate, but he just wasn't really sure that the baby was his. He didn't trust her with good reason, right? And then, then you have Hunter, who's now in a mental institution. Was he involved? I don't know, guys. I don't think we'll ever know, right? It didn't sound like it, He was ruled out by the police. The text messages seemed to go along with everything. So it didn't sound like it. Does make me wonder why he didn't give DNA. But if he only thought the DNA was maybe to rule him out as a father, maybe he thought no worries there because I didn't even know her, kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe he was told by a lawyer not to. I don't know, right? We don't know what people are thinking. But I do believe that Megan did this. So we know that for the rest of tonight, they're not going to be deliberating. So they'll start again tomorrow morning. And what is our poll saying? So 56% of you think that the verdict will be before lunch tomorrow. None of you think after lunch, but 33% say by the end of the day Friday, and 11% say other. That's interesting, right? Did you guys want to hear the prosecution's rebuttal? Yeah. And yes, but they ruled him out by the, by the evidence. So, yeah. Yeah, they targeted his business. So yeah, they lost their business and everything. I mean, they could really have a good civil case against Megan. Not that it's going to do them any good. She's going to be in jail and not making any money. If she makes license plates, it'll be just enough for canteen, right? So I don't, but they'd have a good case for a civil case, honestly, because, well, she didn't point the finger at Hunter, though, did she? Yeah, I guess she kind of did, didn't she? But she said it was accidental, that they both rolled over on her. And we still don't know who the father is. We sure don't. But how many guys was she? Guys, she was only 18. So we knew of Eric, right? We knew of Caleb. We knew of Ethan. And we knew of Hunter. And that's 4 people in like a few years. But there had to have been at least one more. I don't know. And I thought the defense said when he was interviewed, guys, if you remember that interview, tell me if I'm thinking of it right. I don't want to say something wrong, but I thought the defense said that it was going to come out who the father was in trial when he was interviewed. Yeah. They vandalized the restaurant, called him a baby killer. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And the bad part is him going into a mental institution now, just before trial, doesn't look good for him, right? It kind of makes him look guilty. And I'm not saying that he is by any means. He's not on trial here, right? But the community, how did they look at this? Those who vandalized his restaurant, called him a baby red rummer, right? How did they look at that, right? And what do they see in that, I mean, you could even tell Mr. Scott didn't believe it. His wording, calling him crazy, Well, everybody seems to agree that he's crazy. Well, I don't know. The interview that we saw a few nights ago, the guy looked pretty intelligent, like a normal young man. I don't know. It just, I just hate to think that if they did do something together, that, he's not getting charged for anything, right? But then again, that's her fault because she should have spoken up, right? So we just have to consider Hunter innocent. And I hope that he gets the help that he needs, whatever that may be, I don't know, they're saying he's schizophrenic. But, I mean, that's just not something you're suddenly diagnosed with, is it? Yeah, he was having his best life until Megan entered it. So look how many people she's destroyed. Let alone herself. I mean, she's the last person I'm thinking about, but number one is baby Evelyn, besides all of the family around her. And Ethan and Hunter, and then their families, her friends. Her one friend was sobbing on the stand. And so, or was it one of the prosecution closing arguments said something about Megan was a master manipulator, that everything was about her and what she wanted, right? So, yeah, sick and coming guys in their early 20s. He also had just lost his brother. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. I have not a whole lot of knowledge about schizophrenia, so I wasn't sure, but that's awful. He did give conflicting testimony, though. I can't say testimony, but reports, because he had said that he had never seen Evelyn, right? And maybe he never did. I don't know. But he also said they weren't really a thing, but then they were going to move together and into that home, and they were buying furniture together, so that kind of tells me they were a thing. Trauma-induced psychosis, yeah. Sometimes I think that they just put titles a little too quickly, but yeah, something like that I could understand. Mr. E did some research on it, and that's what he found. Gotcha. Well, we'll just keep him in our prayers, right? That he gets the help that he needs. I mean, he's in the place. Hopefully it's a good place. And I honestly believe that Megan needs help. That if there's one thing that I think our prison system could do better, because I don't think there should be not guilty by reason of mental insanity kind of thing. I think it should be one, and then then they should get the help where they are in prison. You know, Google it, y'all. Yes, Ginger, we will. But I really honestly, because there are people in our prisons who we know, they were deemed mentally fit to stand trial, whatever. We know. I mean, that some things mentally were not right with them, right? And they're put in these prisons, and we feed them and everything else, right? But we should be providing mental health for them, especially those that may be able to get out. Maybe their crime wasn't, to the degree of this. We should be providing them with that kind of thing. Mental wellness help. I don't know. I know it costs more. Maybe they could take away some of the other things and provide what they need, right? I don't know. But I think that there's a reason that people do such horrendous things, and I don't think they're well mentally, not healthy at all. But I guess like Elizabeth doing dishes, gotcha. So did you guys want to hear the other part of the last part with the I don't even know their names, the guy prosecutor, or do you want to call it a night? Let me know what you think.
Unless they agree to the theory of the
Okay, I lost it just that quickly. Day 7, part 2. Huh. Well, I guess that's it. It's not going to let me show it. All right. Well, I think we'll call it a night since it's not working with me here. And if we get the verdict in the morning, I'll go live whenever that comes in. So just kind of be watching for that. Our grannyism for today is the same boiling water that softens a potato hardens an egg. It's what you're made of, not the circumstances. So I thought maybe that would bless somebody today. Sometimes we wonder why we have to go through some hard things, but you know, I used to always hear, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And I think, well, how much does he think I can handle? It used to get so annoying, right? But we are, we find out just what we're made of when we go through tough things. And, I have to say, doing true crime and doing trials like this one or Sebastian's, where you just, you're kind of living it. It gets hard, gets really hard. I get angry every time they started showing what baby Evelyn went through, right? And Sebastian, I don't know, things seem to be, there's just seems to be some things going on in the background, guys. I'm not sure what. But I'm really hoping that things are going to be good. Coming, something good is going to happen, is what I'm trying to say. Also, I think it's 7:00 tonight. The mob crew is going to be on again. Looks like he's still picking apart those pictures that were sent to him. And I don't think SF has really gone after him too much since his last video. So I don't know if that's good or if that's bad, but yeah, that guy is extremely frustrating. But all right, well, I hope you guys all have a great night. Be sure to hit the like on your way out, okay? I appreciate it. You guys have a great night, and just kind of keep an eye, because if the verdict comes back tomorrow morning, I'll go live right away. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.